like to talk a little bit now about what happens when you actually get a media interview, how you should prepare and how you should express your ideas during the interview situation. In other words, not only what you should say, but how you should say it. So let's begin by saying being interviewed is undeniably stressful. It is also the best chance for a wide audience to hear your message and your side of the story, and in the case of a live interview, which is increasingly common in the pandemic era, a chance to get your viewpoint across relatively unedited. Now, during an interview, there are certain things you can control and certain things you can't. But the one thing you can control for sure is how well you prepare. And how well you prepare is decisive in the results you get from the interview, whether the interviewer gets what he or she wants, and most importantly, if the audience understands what you're talking about. So the first step in your preparation is to prioritize and choose only the essential points you want to make during the interview. Organize your thoughts. Take your time and think. Decide what interests you personally about the issue, because what interests you personally will interest the audience. I would also like to say that during an interview, perfection is the enemy of success, so don't worry about being perfect. Nobody's perfect. And what the interviewer is interested in and what the audience is interested in is what you are interested in. You are the expert and the audience is expecting you to be. So don't get too wound up about being perfect. Just focus on deciding what are the important points you want to bring out. Now, my suggestion is to prepare not more than 5 essential points and organize them in order from most important to least important. And as a first step, do not write a word-for-word script like this. The same-day project is one of the biggest initiatives ever to happen in the region. It will immediately create 500 jobs in the manufacturing sector and will use environmentally sound and sustainable practices. If the project is as successful as we hope it will be, we plan to create another 200 jobs within 5 years. No. Instead, prepare chapter headings and let's say 3 bullet points for each. Same day project, 500 jobs created immediately, environmentally sustainable practices, 200 more jobs within 5 years. Now the next step is to write each of those bullet points into a single complete thought. 1 thought per sentence, we can call that a soundbite. Count the words and make the sentences as short as possible. And print them out in legible, bold text and have them next to you during the interview. That is perfectly legitimate and can take a lot of pressure off during the interview itself. For example, the same day project will create jobs and protect the environment. The project will create 500 jobs immediately. The project uses environmentally safe practices. 200 more jobs will be created within 5 years. Now, the final step in preparation is to practice. Go over your key points with a colleague or your press person, read them aloud, and get comfortable with the sound of what you want to say and how you want to say it. And try to anticipate the reporter's questions. It's not possible to anticipate every question, but remember, they are not the expert. Consider, if you wanted to know something about your issue, what would you ask? And in terms of how to say it, here are a few tips. Express your ideas in terms of results. In other words, how people's lives were changed or could be changed. De-emphasize process. For example, not the number of meetings held, the data we gathered, etc., etc. It's always a good idea to express your issue in terms of human cost or human emotion. Again, coming back to our guideline of not what the story is about, but who the story is about. It's also very important to speak plainly and to avoid jargon, those confusing, useless words that no one outside your organization understands. By the way, jargon is very different from technical terms, which are very valuable to audiences. You can also take a moment to clarify the meaning of a technical term during the interview if you don't think the audience will understand it clearly. And if you're feeling nervous before an interview, that's completely normal and expected. Frankly, if you're not feeling a bit nervous, I think something's wrong. And how well you prepared is your insurance policy, and performing well during the interview, which I mentioned earlier is without a doubt a stressful experience. But don't worry. Most journalists are not out to trap you or trick you. Most are simply looking for an expert, that would be you, to explain a complex issue to their audiences clearly and understandably. To perform well in an interview, don't hold back. Start with the most important message immediately. Tell what you have seen or heard yourself. Tell what affected you personally about the situation or what you witnessed. Remember, in an interview, immediacy, urgency, and passion are much more important than technical knowledge alone and much more effective for audiences. And if you're interested, a few words about body language. There's a lot of information out there about body language, setting your arms and legs a certain way, gesturing at important moments, etc. Now, if any of this stuff is useful to you, by all means use it. But I think the best rule is also the simplest. Effective communicators believe in what they are saying. That's really the only rule you need to remember. When you convey your expertise and your passion, it comes out naturally in your body language. Gesture freely and don't overdo it. And speak with feeling from your heart as well as your head. Remember, you are the expert, you know the material, and that's why you're there.